I'm Dr. Mary Finley Brooke, and I'm speaking to you as a resident of Chesterfield County and as a mother of 3 young children. My number one priority is their health and safety, and it's very clear that fossil fuel power plants that are polluting our air and water and disrupting climate patterns is one of the greatest threats to their well-being. So I'm here to ask you to act decisively to significantly limit carbon pollution, to protect my children and all current and future generations. My awareness of the threats we face builds from academic training. I have an undergraduate degree in environmental studies. I have a doctoral degree in geography and the environment. And the gravity of our situation means that I talk about climate change in every single class that I teach at the University of Richmond, where I've been working for over 9 years. So I want to share some of the messages I commonly tell my students. First, I tell them my generation and those that come before them have really let them down. That we have avoided action to resolve the biggest challenge of our time. And that they, as students, must prepare to act on climate change, because any challenge that they want to resolve, whether it's food and water security, whether it's international conflicts or public health, is going to be influenced by climate disruption. I also note that this is an exciting time and that it's not too late to avoid the worst scenarios. So I'm really happy to be part of this listening session. It gives me hope that the U.S. government and this state will finally help to change our destructive past energy policies. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change states that there is high scientific certainty that we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40 to 70% by mid-century. Really not a lot of time. And to do this, we may be able to avoid temperature increases over 2 degrees Celsius. I think that is somewhat of an arbitrary target, but the point is, we're aware that if we go well over that, or even to that point, it will alter life on Earth as we know it, and it will cause trillions of dollars of damage. I mentioned this range of 40 to 70% for necessary reductions because it shows that states that are considering coming in at or near the floor of the levels put forth in the Clean Power Plan are acting immorally, irresponsibly, and with deficiency. We have to be more ambitious. The transition to renewable and alternative energies is good for job growth. It's good for the economy. For the past 5 years, I've worked with interns to document win-win solutions that make sense economically and ecologically. We cannot invest in new fossil fuel infrastructure. These will become stranded assets, but we can have a healthy environment and a strong economy at the same time. I appreciate the detailed attention in the Clean Power Plan to energy solutions that protect the most vulnerable. Social and environmental justice concerns must remain forefront during our state energy transition. We should immediately target energy efficiency and conservation. This lowers electricity bills, which are disproportionately high for our low-income populations. It also helps avoid the need for new fossil fuel infrastructure. We need to invest in clean energy. We should maximize on incentives offered from the federal government for early deployment. This will bring job growth and improve public health. All Virginians will be healthier, but particularly low-income and communities of color, which disproportionately live near fossil fuel energy plants, facilities, and terminals. Lastly, and I'll end with this, we should phase out all fossil fuel use as quickly as possible. Thank
you. Isabella Pizzullo.
I don't know, I'm going to follow that up. Hi, my name's Isabella Pizzullo. I go to the University of Richmond. Dr. Mary Finley Brooke is actually my professor. I'm here because I support CPP and because I grew up in a town in coastal southern Florida where I've watched sea levels rise, shorelines recede, and seawalls crumble. Now I live in Virginia. I came here because I fell in love with the James River, and I've begun lots of research on flooding that's occurred across Richmond, across Virginia, and all coastal cities. And I've also seen landscapes in West Virginia that have been ravaged by coal mining, and I'm here as somebody who feels obligated to be here because we need a bold action plan for Virginia. And what I'm asking for is something big to happen for the way that Virginia acts on climate, and for it to happen now, and a plan that not only reduces carbon emissions, but also mobilizes the most vulnerable communities. For example, I'm starting to look into the Hampton Roads region of Newport News a lot. Their rates of asthma are staggering, as well as being a coastal community that's affected by sea level rise. So all throughout my life, and from the things I've seen and experienced, it's not something that I think I can ignore, or people of my generation can ignore. And also, solar and wind I've seen become more of a viable option every day, and it's pretty amazing and exciting to see all of the advancements that are being made in those areas, especially as routes for pipelines are just being snaked throughout Virginia and West Virginia, which is kind of absurd to me when so many other options are available. So what I'm going to finish by saying is dependence on natural gas is not going to be enough to protect where I grew up or where I live now. And I'm incredibly passionate about both of those places. So thank you very much.
Stephen Heitz.
Well, good evening. It's exciting to see a lot of people here and see a lot of familiar faces. And my name is Steve Heinitz. I live in Hanover County with my wife and 2 sons and 2 dogs. And I am here because I am personally concerned about the quality of the air that I breathe, and my neighbors breathe, and everybody else, in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I guess as I was sitting here, I'm thinking, what is, we've been talking about this for a number of years now, and the clock is ticking, and we need to start moving forward and taking action to address climate change. There are some people, and I consider myself an optimist. The glass is half full, not half empty. Because some people say we've gone too far. Maybe at this point, we've done too much damage and we can't repair the damage that has already been done. But we have, I think, taken a lot of time. The Clean Power Plan that the EPA has developed, I think, is something that the DEQ and the Commonwealth of Virginia can take that and start moving forward. And I think we have a great opportunity now to take that information and move forward and address climate change in a way that we can address the problems of health and flooding and all the negative things that we hear about that are happening and are going to keep happening unless we take some action. Last week the Pope was here, and everybody's like, yeah, the Pope's here, and the Pope has jumped on board about climate change. And I think it's just an indication that climate change is not just something that's affecting a small group of people, it's a worldwide problem. And it's a problem, fortunately, we have a lot of tools to address that problem. And I had a statement here that I was going to read, but I think it needs to come from your heart. And I think my heart is telling me that there's a lot we can do. There's energy efficiency, which is probably, like somebody said earlier, is the simple way we can start addressing, stop wasting energy on keeping a room at 68 degrees and having 50 lights on when maybe we only need 20. So start using common sense approaches. So, let's start moving forward. A couple of things I did want to say. I do support Virginia joining the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative that 9 states have already done. I think it's a common sense thing that we can do. I do support alternative energy, wind and solar, energy efficiency over nuclear. and fossil fuels. I think, you know, natural gas, I use natural gas in my home to heat my hot water, but I think we're getting too dependent on natural gas. Nuclear, I don't think is an option. I think we need to get away from nuclear. So the future health of Virginia's economy, our natural environment, and our citizens, it greatly depends upon developing a clean power plan for Virginia that will effectively combat the devastating effects of climate change. So again, the clock is ticking. Let's take some action, and let's embrace the clean power plan and move forward with it instead of dragging our feet. But, thank you for this opportunity.